and welcome back to my video series. This is Shraddha and you're watching Unique Chat BBR. So as today is another BBR Sunday, and as promised I have that BBR video for all of you. And of course this BBR video is going to be a motivational and life-changing book review because we haven't done one since days. So today I have that best financial and motivational book for all of you. Have you guessed it? Well, let me tell it to you. It is The Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, this best-selling book is finally on our way on our BBRs. So quickly, let's get ahead. And of course, this book review is going to be in parts. So this is the part 1 review, as this book has so many different types of things that I want to convey you. So please stay tuned for the next parts too. So you're watching the part 1 video. So 40th BBR is our wish. So let's start the video in a swish. Let's start with the video. So first of all, the content of today's video is just as usual. We have BBR My Review, then the hashtag BBR Experience, and then the hashtag Flashing Months. So let's move to the BBR My Review. So this book is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The main theme of this book is about finance, book, and what we should do to save money. It tells us that how rich people think different than the poor and the middle class, and what special they do that make them rich. This book actually tells us the same as The Richest Man in the Babylon about money. And this book also tells us that it is important to make the flow of gold or the flow of money flowing through your bank account and not that constant money in your bank account. Means if you get your salary or maybe a few amount of money in your bank account, that's not what makes you rich. If that is constant, if you have assets in it, then you are rich. So we are going to get about this in this whole review. So the main theme here is how to use money as a tool for our wealth development. So this book actually tells us about Rich Dad and Poor Dad. The main part is Robert, the writer himself, and his best friend. So what happens is there are two dads of Robert. One is his own dad, which is described as the poor dad, and the one is his best friend's dad, who is the rich dad. So now what happens is Robert and his best friend, they go and ask the rich dad to tell him or to tell them what is special in him that makes him rich. I mean, what he does to make him more rich than that poor dad who is well more educated on a very big post or salary, and how is he managing to still be rich after doing so many expenses and everything. So the rich dad actually tells that you are the only first person that I have really seen who is interested in knowing my secret, because all of my employees, they just do the work, they just take salaries and that's it. They have never even asked me how do I manage all of it, and so I'm going to tell you. So this much big book tells us about his life and how is it constructed. So now it tells us that rich people focus on possibilities and rewards. So the rich dad forbids the kid from saying, I can't afford it. Instead, he asks them to say, how can I afford it? This first phrase shuts down our working brain and of course the possibility to afford it. But the second phrase opens up ideas and possibilities to afford it. So it forces the brain to search for answers. The main part is not to say that you are poor, to believe that you can actually afford it, you can become rich. Now just don't go on that mentality that I'm poor so I can't afford that luxury car that I want. Make it a habit to say how can I afford it, because you are going to become rich. It's not constant that you're going to stay poor like poor only or middle like middle only. You are going to become rich if you try, and to try you have to make possibilities and also to get your mindset that you are going through the right path and taking actions for what you want. The main part here comes is that the rich don't work for money. Now put the emphasis for money. So how to say the rich don't work for money means they work differently but not just for money. Like, that's what makes the meaning correct when we emphasize the word money. Now let's get about it what I'm talking about. It's that the rich do work hard, but not for just paying bills and earning money. The poor and the middle class work for money, and the rich have money to work for them. How does this happen, and what is the literal meaning of what I said right now? Is that the rich people go and make assets. Now I'm going to explain what means assets. Assets and liabilities are a very important part of this book. Assets means an asset is something that has a specific value and that produces income, or it appreciates and has a market where the asset can easily be bought or sold. For example, if you have a house, or maybe you have two, and if you have sent one house for rent, so the money that comes or that is generated from that rent house is actually one of your assets, because you are not working for that house. Or if you are going on a job and you are working there for someone else and you are getting your money, that is not actually your asset, because you are working for that money and you are getting it. But if you are having a house on rent and if you get money from that, you are not working for it, so that is the asset. This is what is a major difference. This book tells us that liabilities take out the money out of your pocket. Our home is not an asset, it's the biggest liability. Okay, so the main part here was let the money work for you. So what you have to make and understand is, if you're working for money, it's not an asset. You're working for money or you're working for someone else, so you get that money. But if you're doing something and that brings you money, means if you're keeping something at bay and if you're giving, someone is giving you money for that and you are not actually working for it, just as I gave the example of rent house, you're doing an asset. So try to make such investments, and this book actually tells us about how to make such investments in detail, and if you want to get that, read this book. So the next part is think bigger to get riches, because small thinkers don't get the big breaks. The exact thing what I said, that rich people take on risks, possibilities get open to them, and they just go up and ahead. Now the small people, or we can say the poor or the middle class people, they are afraid of taking risk. They are like, what will happen if I take this much risk? I can get in loss and all of that stuff. But what will happen if that risk turns out to be an opportunity for you? So now main important part is to take risk and to think big, think great, as if you are rich and you are like, okay, how can I afford it to be? Next part is one skill away from great wealth. It means that this book also tells us that just don't occupy one degree or maybe one skill that you have. Try to build more and more skills. This book tells us that start learning more than working for others. Means we all do what? A typical thing that common and poor middle people do is that they go study and then they go for a job. But the rich dad tells us that instead of this, take out a bit more of your time and invest in something for yourself. Take on more and more skills for yourself, like try different types of fields or maybe different types of things that you want to do, and make yourself an upgraded version. Because now in this age of evolution, robots are of course going to come and they're going to do these simple things. We want humans that do more than what robots can do, and that's why what this book actually tells us, that apply skills to yourself. The next part is that people who avoid the failures also avoid success. Failures are actually our best friends, because whatever happens, happens for the good. If we are failed in an exam or maybe some other thing, it teaches us to go ahead, because if we just have not tried a lot and if we still get passed on, or if we are like okay good score, we actually don't go again on that same concept if we are good on it by just doing a few sums or maybe something and scoring good in that subject. If you want to be the best in that subject, if we get failed, we are going to get that burning desire that hey, why am I this much low in this subject, and so we get more and more in that. So the main thing here is, don't avoid failures, just go ahead, because those failures are going to turn into your success. Next, focus. Focus means what? Follow one course until successful. One course, dedication. We need whole dedication for our path of success. So let's get about focus. What is focus? Focus means follow one course until successful. So if we want to achieve something, we all have some or the other extreme in our life and we want to achieve it. So for that, we've actually paved up a path for us. Like first I'm going to take this degree, go in this course, etc. And then I'm going to go for my that desired person I want to be. So for that, dedication is the most important thing, which is actually focus that we need. So whatever happens, no matter, just go ahead and just keep that one goal in your mind and just go ahead with that stuff. Next, and the very last point of this book for this review right now comes, is that if you want something, you first need to give it. This is the most important part. Just give freely and you will of course get it, because if you help someone, you will of course get helped by someone again in your life if you just really need it. So yeah, these were the main points of this book of Right Now. There are many more points and lessons to learn from this book, but this was the very starting of our part 1 review, and part 2 review is waiting for you on next Sunday at sharp 5 p.m. IST. So yes, this was my review, and let's get ahead for the hashtag BBR experience. It's that you can share your experience or write down your comments about any book that you read or something that you felt after reading this review, some lesson that you got from this review, or maybe any other review or book that you have read, and just post it down with a hashtag BBR experience or Flash Me Once, and I'll give you a shout out in my next video. So yes, let's go to the hashtag Flash Me Once, and a big flash me to the best experiences you shared with me. Yeah, and so these were the best experiences I had got from all of you, and I'm just really looking forward for all of them. And so yeah, this was all from me for all for today. I just really hope you loved and got a bit about this book, because there's so much in this book. So yeah, this was my video, and I just really hope that you just love this BBR review and of course this whole video. And so yeah, a new video is releasing on next Sunday at sharp 5 p.m. IST, and more of such KST and GMT time zones are of course in the comment section. So, and of course in the description box, so just don't forget to check it out. And yes, a new part 1 video is already done, part 2 is coming, so stay tuned. And so yeah, happy watching, happy learning, and unique greetings.